Dena.
Hi, Ashley.
Here we are.
Here we are.
And this month, we are in the theme of relationships, right? Romantic relationships. So
Yes.
I'm excited to continue talking to you about this stuff.
Yay. I like it. It's fun to work through stuff, isn't it?
It is. It is. And like I said, I feel like I get free therapy when I'm on here with you. So I feel like I'm
Thank
cheating
you.
a little bit. I'm just going to take advantage.
Why
Everybody
not?
else can do the same thing too. You are welcome to
Yeah,
chime in and let us know if you want to come in and we can listen to your shit instead of mine.
exactly. You could get in the frying pan with the non-stick spray with me.
Exactly.
Yes.
So today we want to talk about, or I would like to talk about, hopefully
Mhm.
you do, how not to lose yourself in your relationship. Because I've definitely been guilty of that in the past. And I have a lot of friends who have said that they do that as well. So I thought it
Mhm.
might be a good topic.
I've been guilty of it for sure.
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
what does that look like for you? What does losing yourself in a relationship look like for you?
Well, in the past, it looked
Hmm.
like putting my needs aside and going along with whatever the other person wanted to do every time. Or let's say, I really was looking forward to doing something with them or had plans with a friend to go out or for them to come over. And my girlfriend, wanted to do something else. Then in the past, I would have canceled on that other friend, which is a big no-no.
Hmm.
Or made an excuse or whatever because it was more important to me to keep my relationship going.
And so, do you think you did it to keep that person happy and in love with
Yes,
you? And did you think that if you canceled, that that person wasn't going to love you the same way that you were loving, they were loving you? Is that why you canceled, to make them happy?
meaning my partner, my
Yes.
girlfriend. If I
Yeah,
if
your
I
girlfriend, excuse
didn't,
me. Yeah.
yeah, that
Yes.
if I canceled, that meant that I loved them more, and I would, yeah.
Got you. Yes.
Right. I
Okay. So it's
guess
the guilt.
I was choosing them, which was a shitty thing to do. It's a shitty, shitty
Hmm.
thing to do to your friends. Don't do it.
Yeah,
You
well,
learn the
it's
hard
shitty to
way.
do to, yes, it's shitty to do to your friends and to yourself and
And
to
to
your
yourself.
partner, because your partner, you will wind up getting resentful because you canceled and you did all of these things, and to them it's not that big of a deal. They didn't ask you to cancel.
That's
You
right.
volunteered,
That's
right? And
right.
so then everyone, it's like such a mind fuck
Right.
because there's so many things attached to why you canceled.
Right. So
And there's expectation.
that's a more blatant sort of over the top uh,
Uh-huh.
thing that in the past I
Mm-hmm.
would have done, and we're talking about years ago.
Mm-hmm.
That was, something that's more visibly obvious. But what
Yeah.
starts to happen over time, right? What I found energetically is as you start to push your own needs aside, start to ignore blocking out time for yourself to do things that you love to do, then you start to get resentful because now you're going to concerts you don't give a shit about with somebody you could
Mm-hmm.
care less because this is what makes them happy all the time, but you're not balancing it out with things that make you happy,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I totally get that. Totally get. I have always done what other people wanted to do, and I always would cook dinners for
Mm-hmm.
people. I would wine and dine them. And really, first date, you come to my house, I'm gonna cook you dinner. What work did they have to do, right? And so it's literally, I would start out losing myself because I
Me
wasn't
too.
even allowing them to show me who they were, because maybe part of me was afraid that they weren't going to show up, of how I built them in my head. So there was a part of me that was also doing that damage control of like, I'm not going to mess up this fantasy in my head. So here, let me cook them dinner and show them how amazing I am. And
Mm-hmm.
then if I show them how amazing I am, right? And it's like, but wait, how, what, aren't they supposed to show you who they are too? And but I never set it up that way.
Yes, right. But now, and thinking, if I were that person on the flip side, I might enjoy that in the beginning and think, oh, wow, this is really nice that this person did that to me. If someone's coming at me with that kind of energy now, I'm going to be like, this person is putting a lot
Whoa.
of pressure on me to do things that I have not promised. They're coming across a little needy. You know what I
Uh-huh.
mean? Like, I can only
Yes.
imagine what the girls looked at me like back then. They were probably like, what did I just get myself into?
Totally. But do you see how it comes back around? And now we have to be in this space where it's not the judgment or whatever, it's just the awareness of like, oh, fuck, that's what
Yeah,
that looks like.
right,
Or that's what I used to do. And it's
right,
just like, oh, maybe they're not in the same space in their journey where you would like them to be. So again, that's a closed door.
right, right. But
Yes, that's tough.
it's just, and like I said, or said in the last episode, it's been a while since I've had a chance to put this into practice. So I'm excited to see for both of us how it
Uh-huh.
goes moving forward, because it's something that I want to set up differently moving forward. It's something that I want to be careful of because, you and I are both had that a disease of people pleasing at one point. I think we
Mm-hmm.
both recognize it now and we've got it somewhat
Mm-hmm.
under control, but
Mm-hmm.
you think you're being nice. Oh, I'm going to show them how nice I am. I'm going to step up and do all this stuff in the beginning. But I think now, I got to be really careful of what things I'm setting up. I do want to be nice. I do want to do nice things, but I need to allow space for someone else to step in and show me how nice they are too,
Totally, but
which I
I'm gonna
didn't used to
ex
do.
exactly. But as easy as that sounds,
Right.
I want you to be aware that when people start showing you how nice they are and lovely and whatever, sometimes those of us who are used to giving, giving, giving aren't great at receiving, receiving, receiving.
That is very true.
So you have to be very aware that you aren't turning down stuff because it feels uncomfortable. You have to learn to accept compliments and believe them. You have to learn to accept people's kindness and receive it without feeling like you have to give back. You have to learn to just be okay with those antsy, like, oh my God, I want to do something nice for them because they just brought me a rose. I mean, the fact that right now in the world, no matter who you're dating, what sex, whatever it is, we get excited when someone just does the bare minimum because that's how bad sometimes it gets out there.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so, oh, he texted me after, or she texted me after to say thank you and they had a good time. That was so nice. Well, it's like, let's just
Shouldn't they
hope
say
that
that
that's
anyway?
something I know, but that's how it's gotten, right?
Yeah.
Is that people just disregard or just push away or ghost or whatever it is. And so in order to not lose yourself in these situations, don't be afraid of showing up and communicating what it is you like or you don't like. Or in the beginning, I think it's very important not to just give someone all of these things all at once, but as they come up, it's really important to talk about them. So, like you and I,
Mm-hmm.
we're building a friendship and a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's intimate because we talk about very heavy things.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times that you and I have to communicate where I have frustrated you because I'm all over the place, and maybe vice versa with something else. And
Yeah.
we have very gracefully found a way to communicate because we didn't know our dance before.
Right.
And you may have come at me in a way that you've had to come at other people, and maybe I've done the same to you. And then we've learned, wait, we're not those people. You
Right.
don't have to come at me this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not who you've worked with in the past, and
Right.
you're not who I've worked with in the past. So when we're dating with people and we say, don't lose yourself, the very first part is, remember that all of that baggage that you've been through, it is not fair when you bring it to the current relationships. And I'm talking about
That's a good
any
point.
relationship,
That's a
right?
good
So it's
point.
like
Yes.
your triggers can be, oh, I've dealt with this before, I'm not doing it again, so I need to tell them right away. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, but whoa,
Mm-hmm.
whoa, 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 where are you getting that from?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
is that you right now because of this, or are you getting that
Yeah.
because you've been hurt so bad in the past before that you want to make sure, and you're going to get ahead of it, no one's going to come at you? And
Right.
it's like, no, 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 you need to trust that you have all the tools in your emotional bank to talk yourself through it, not
Mm-hmm.
talk yourself out of it,
Mm-hmm.
talk yourself through it. So you don't have to run, you don't have to lose
Throw
yourself
up
in the
walls.
sense is exactly before we go into any relationships, it's so important to say, what am I bringing to the table? What would I like this person to see? Who do I want to be in this relationship? And I'm not saying be fake, but if we don't kind of have an outline to stick to, we
Mm-hmm.
will sometimes go back to our old habits just out of, it's like what, out of what do you, like my brain, it's out of default, right? Someone comes at me, listen, old Dena, she may pop up and you don't want to meet her. You know, it just depends what it's going to take, right? So if some guy comes up and he's going to talk to me all slick and think like I'm a small town girl because I live in a small town, I don't feel the ego anymore to be like, buddy, I'm from LA. Like, please, like, do you even know who I am? Like, what? Like,
Let me
no, I'm
tell
just gonna,
you, I'm from the
yes.
Newport Hood.
I'm from the hood of the
Right,
OC, bro.
whatever.
Like,
God.
no, but listen, I did go to LACC. I was
I
very
know.
scared.
Yeah.
And at Brentwood, that was a sketchy
Oh,
neighborhood in
bless your
Malibu too.
heart.
No,
You poor
I'm
thing. I
kidding.
know. It's hard to be you.
Well, and also too, I've also made the mistake of, because I grew up with brothers and stuff, I'm very cool and I'm very tomboyish. And so sometimes I can joke in a very inappropriate way. And that also gives people the wrong impression.
Right.
And
Totally.
so it's not that I don't want to lose myself and be like, well, I'm not going to talk about any of that, but I do have to be aware of that is sending a message.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I have to be aware of what kind of message. So it's not that, oh, I want to be my complete self and not, no, no, no. But there are parts of myself that I've been through that journey. I'm over that now. And that part I would like to sort of put to rest and put in my past. So I also have to be present and go, okay, what is it that I learned before that I don't need to bring to the table now? And what is it that I would like to bring to the table now? And I would like to do different, because you have to show up for yourself,
Totally.
you
And I
know?
have
And
definitely
so,
been guilty, in years past of not being so intentional with my
ah,
relationships, not
mm-hmm.
holding that vision in my head of what I wanted. It was just like, oh, here's a great girl. Let's see if it works out. I mean, what was I thinking?
Well,
I
you
wasn't.
you
Well, I
weren't,
know what
and
I
you
was
were
thinking,
young, of
but,
course, but it's
you
what we do.
know,
That's how we have to go through those
God.
lessons, right? If you don't go through those lessons, you're not going to learn. That's what makes you a better person
Mm-hmm.
today. That's
Mm-hmm.
what makes you feel like, oh, I want this. I've tried. So it's like going to the buffet, right? We know at the buffet, oh, I tried that. I didn't like that. I tried that. I didn't like that. I didn't like that. Da, da, da. And now it's like, I know what I like. I know
Mm-hmm.
what satisfies me. So now I'm going to go get my main entree. You
Ooh,
know what I mean?
girl, go
And it's
get your
like,
main
my
entree.
main entree, tall, dark, and handsome, and really funny.
Is it vanilla? Is it chocolate?
It's, I said
Is
tall,
it
dark,
orange?
so it's a mocha
Ah,
almond fudge. It's a
okay.
mocha almond fudge, baby.
Amazing.
Right? And so I'm open, receptive, but I also, it's, I'm going to tell you something, which is, it's not, I'm not disrespecting any gender, whatever. In Italy, it is still very, very prevalent that the woman's place is in the kitchen. Like, no matter if you have the job, no matter if you
Right.
work full time too, it is still expected that you are washing, ironing, cooking, taking care of the kid, doing all, the men just don't do it. They
Right.
really just don't. So how do you not lose yourself in that? Because it is so frustrating to be like, well, wait, I have a job just like you do,
Right.
and you're a man. You're probably a lot stronger and a lot. So shouldn't you be ironing your own clothes, or shouldn't you be? But that doesn't hold up here. And
Right.
so the fact is that I hear these women bitch and complain and do all of these things because I get it. It's very frustrating. And God
Mm-hmm.
forbid they tell their mother you're not ironing and doing all
Right.
of these things. And by the way, I'm not speaking for all men, because thankfully in my marriage, Marco wouldn't let me iron his clothes because I purposely discolored them and ironed them wrong. So he said, don't
Mm-hmm.
ever touch my clothes again.
Uh-huh. There you go.
And but
There's
now,
your
but a
answer.
lot of, see, but a lot of these women can't do this, right? So
Yeah.
there's resentment, there's frustration, there is losing a lot of yourself. So it's like, well, is it more important to you to keep the peace in your family and build resentment and sit outside of your character and literally become so frustrated with your partner? Or do you think you could communicate it and little by little maybe get some small wins, right? Because I mean, cooking every day, in Italy, food is taken very seriously.
Yeah.
So not only do women just have to cook for dinner, everyone comes home for lunch between 1 and 3. So you have to stop your day and what you're doing to prepare.
Make a
Exactly.
lot. Cook one meal for
But
the week and then.
a lot of them won't eat
Oh,
leftovers.
well,
It's
bless their
just not a
hearts. They
thing
might have to
here.
starve.
Right?
Poor little
But if you're,
pumpkins.
see, but what do you do in these situations? Because if you're
I don't
dealing with
know.
a very strong, a stubborn man who literally is like, that's not my job.
Well, what do you
And
recommend?
well, it just depends. Like I said before, it depends. What is more important to you? Do you want your individuality, your freedom to speak up for yourself, more of a harmonious relationship? Then gently speak up, gently try to make a shift without controlling the person and telling them, no, you have to, no, there's ways to approach that, right? But then what a lot of women do is it's much easier to not have the battle. It's much easier, let's just say hypothetically, to not do the work. So instead, I'm going to do it. I'm going to bitch. I'm going to be miserable. I'm going to become resentful, and I'm going to lose myself in the process. And I'm going to be damn freaking tired.
And that could happen with women too. I mean, I'm just thinking like if I dated someone who was mega successful, had this crazy career, really needed that kind of support, I would want to offer that as much as humanly possible, to show her that I cared, but with balance, and just say maybe, hey, I'm going to do this on the days that I can, but on the days that I can't, we're going to have to figure out plan B, because
or
I
let's
still
get a
have,
housekeeper,
yeah,
or
I
let's get
still
someone
have
to help.
my own
Yes.
shit to do, But, and for some people, like we were talking about on the last episode, the 5 love languages, some people love to be cooked for. Like that is how they receive love. That is it. And, I have people in my family who are that way, and I see it in action. I'm like, I ain't gonna be in the kitchen all damn day. My grandmother was in the kitchen all day. She was either making dinner, baking another cake. She always had like 3 massive cakes that took hours, sitting on the buffet in the dining room. But that was how all the men in the family saw that you were loved. And it's like,
yes. And for me, the cooking is acts of service, right? So yeah. I like to cook and feed people.
Sure.
Right. And I like
love
to do nice
it
things.
too, but not every fucking day.
Well, I was married to someone who would never taste my food.
What?
And that was my love language. He wouldn't taste anything, right? And
even in the beginning,
nothing. Italians are very particular about their food. So because I'm vegan, gluten-free, like all of that, to them it's like, oh please. Sacrilege. It's very, even when I would cook normal food, because in the beginning I would for him, wouldn't taste it. And then on top of that, when I'm somebody who loves to make a beautiful home, and all I need is for you to notice and maybe compliment or something. And he would come home and he would look at everything and he would notice the one thing I didn't do. Yeah. And he would say, oh, well, no one asked you to, because I would be like, oh, look, I cleaned it. He goes, well, no one asked you to. And then it would just sort of suck the fun out of me. So I did lose myself in that relationship because I stopped doing all the things that made me happy, meaning I stopped cooking. I stopped, the home was always clean, but there was no point in making a beautiful, lovely home, because if it was a tree or decorations, it was always negative comments. So I just stopped it all. And then when I lost myself.
Was it only when you asked him to give you credit for it?
Oh, well, he would never give me credit. So I'd always have to ask for it.
And see, so you don't want to be in that position either, because then you start feeling needy.
Of course. And that was not how it was when I first got in the marriage. I feel like I got bait and switched, because in the beginning it was the love bombing. Right. And then when I got to Italy, it all changed. Right. But then I lost myself because yes. And he literally said, well, I got you here, so I don't need to try now. literally said that
He
to me.
said that?
Yes.
Motherfucker.
And I literally was
Sorry,
like,
people.
I literally was like,
Yeah.
motherfucker. But,
How do you not?
literally, right? And so you're in a foreign country, you're by yourself, you're whatever. So you're constantly being pushed down. My light is constantly being dimmed, right?
Mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm,
then I was like, okay, fine, fuck it. I won't do anything. I won't. And then the second I stopped doing everything, the complaints of you don't do anything,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
you don't make any effort, you
That
don't.
was a
So
no-win
I gained,
situation,
well, yeah,
Dena.
of course, but I
Yeah,
gained 60 pounds, so I
yeah,
clearly lost myself.
yeah.
I went into a depression. I stopped doing what made me happy
Mm-hmm.
just because I was not getting the acknowledgement from my partner, which was
Yeah,
my fault. I shouldn't have done that.
that's
But
hard.
there's no fun in doing things for someone or with someone or living in a place if someone's never going to acknowledge it.
Right.
So it's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
So then now I could see where I would do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Now I could see, because I'm older, I would have, that 10 years for me, now that I look back, the growth and the stuff that I went through, that for me, I wasn't even healthy in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like not everyone gets the opportunity to sort of get that perspective, because maybe they haven't had therapy, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
they don't understand, or maybe they're still in the midst of trauma, or
Mm-hmm.
what it may be. So these conversations are so important for people to understand that it is okay to want your partner to acknowledge nice things. It
Can
is
I say
okay.
something about that though?
Yes, please.
Because you're giving me a little bit of something that I'm sure I need to work on, because I could have
Mm-hmm.
easily been that person on the other side that just, I am guilty of not always just saying, oh, this looks so great or whatever. If it's something that I feel like we've sort of delineated in the relationship of like, this is what you're going to do and this is what I'm going to take care of. And I don't need thanks for it. And it's just what we've agreed to do. And that's great.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm
But
saying? So I could
I,
walk into that room and just, I do appreciate it, but I might not say, oh God, this looks great. Thank you. Because I feel like, well, this is your part in the relationship and this is my part in the relationship. Do you think maybe?
well,
No.
okay, I'll give you another perspective. No, it's
And
not that I
I'm
don't
not
think.
saying that this is right. I'm saying it, I'm
No,
sure I need
no,
to speak up and tell people because it's just
for
the
sure.
kind
Well,
thing to
think
do.
about this. When you and I talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's say with other partners in business you've had, isn't it nice to get acknowledgement for the hard work you're doing when I say thank you for
Absolutely.
everything you're doing?
Yeah,
So don't
absolutely.
you think everyone needs that once in a while? Doesn't have to
Yes.
be every time.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Yes.
So it's
Okay.
just, if it's nice to hear,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice to say.
Right.
It takes a very little effort to go, thank you for thinking of me. That's so
Uh-huh.
rad.
Uh-huh.
Like,
Uh-huh.
thank you. Awesome. Like, amazing.
Yeah.
Right. And so I just think it's so important, because it's that little effort that could shift someone in such a way that they don't even know they needed it.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
So, I mean, what do you get out of not saying thank you?
It wouldn't even occur to me
Ah,
because I don't think I need to thank my partner if that's what they're doing and I've got something over here that I'm not expecting a thank you for. It's just what we both do to
so
contribute. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
so
And I'm
you're
not,
a hundred
again, I'm
percent.
saying
Yeah, no, you're 100% that bitch.
I'm 100% that bitch. But
Yes.
that keeps
So,
me from having expectations too. I think of somebody needing to tell me or thank me for
but then you're trying
doing
to
what I
control
do.
the other person without even
Control.
knowing, meaning it the way, okay, so see how you just said,
Well, if they need it, yes, but I'm assuming that how would I know that
there
they
we go.
need it? I would never want to do that to someone who needs it
But
and who have
because
said
you're
that to me.
coming from your perspective of
But what I'm
your
saying is it might not
experiences.
even occur to someone that you're in a relationship with. But if you bring
Okay.
it up, that's a different story. And if you're like,
Would it bother you if someone brought it up?
no, I hope not. Good Lord, because
Okay.
I want my partner to be able to say, this is how I know that you care that I'm doing this and I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate what you're doing. And I'm okay, fine. But if it had never been brought up, I could easily have been that person that just slides through
Okay.
and goes about and appreciates in different ways. But I'm just saying that's interesting to me that
And I
upset you
get,
that much
well,
because it
it
might
did
not occur to
because
everybody, you know?
Well, it did, because let's be realistic. The title is how to not lose yourself in a relationship.
Uh-huh.
I lost myself in that relationship because I was trying so hard with acts of love and acts of service to get him to acknowledge me. And when it wasn't reciprocated, and then therefore I would just try harder. And then until I just got so deep in, I just stopped altogether. Right. And so I lost myself looking for that. Now I would communicate up front. And for me, I think for how my disposition is, I would need someone to give me compliments and be, grateful for it and appreciative.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think
Yes.
it's important that we do appreciate things that people do so that they keep
Words of
doing them.
affirmation. That's one of the love languages, right? So you need words of affirmation.
Yes, there we go. Yes,
and you are a giver of acts of service, it sounds like.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And
but
so
you also
I
give
think,
words of affirmation. You're very good about that. You always give compliments and thank yous, and
it's important to make people feel good, because I think that that's how we keep the energy going, right? It's like, so it's like if I feel good and I'm complimentary and I'm kind, you know that I mean it, but I'm also a safe space.
Yeah. I need to get better at that. I didn't hear that growing up. Like we didn't, nobody ever. So this is all like, for me in a relationship as an adult, good to know.
Well, and it's like, if you never received it, how did you learn that? How are you learning now how to receive someone's acts of service?
We'll find out.
That's why I was asking you in the last podcast is, how do you know that you're going to be able to receive kindness?
I'm going to have to work on that.
Because, I mean, when I was super kind when you came, right, it was overwhelming to you.
Yes. That was a lot.
So imagine when a romantical partner does it and it's a lot up front, right? And so these are ways that you have to self-talk and go, you're deserving. You deserve this. You're a kind person. Instead of going,
I don't feel that I don't deserve it. I feel it's pressure because it's too fast. I'm like, don't do all that for me up front because it's so fast, and I want to be able to do things in a more natural progression.
But what if somebody else likes it the other way? There has to be a compromise.
Or communication.
For sure. So if I'm an impulsive, excited person and you're not, you're literally going to flatten my tire. Stop me dead in my tracks.
You're going to put pressure on me.
There we go.
That makes me feel like I want to go this way. You're going to push me away by doing that too fast. So then, I'm not saying don't do it. I love it to have these little things, but if it's too much,
the gentle conversation.
It would be, hey, let's just, dial it back a little, slow it down.
That's not gentle. That's actually kind of hurtful.
What do you say? Slow it down.
That's why I think you could say, like, in the past, I always moved a little fast, and this time I'm trying to move a little slower.
It makes
because
me
if
feel
you say
that there are
back,
expectations. It makes me feel that there are expectations on me that I am going to have to move slower with.
Or in my experience, I feel that there are expectations on me because you're assuming that they have expectations on you. So do you see how the delivery is so important? Because the first way you would have said dial it back, that would have hurt my feelings.
Sorry.
Right.
I also grew up in a very direct family, and I certainly am that, and I know I've got to soften.
Me too. I was raised by men, right? Wolves. I was raised by literally animals. And so the way we all talk to each other, but I would get my feelings hurt all the time. I'm so sensitive, right? So it's just that shift in words and the delivery in order for people to receive it without shutting down.
Right. Makes sense.
Because I have felt myself in the past when people say stuff, I'm like, voila, I'm done. Like game over. And literally it's a physical feeling. It goes and I get hot in the face, and then I'm like, get me out of here as fast as I can, as I can, because someone has said something and I don't know what to do with that because it's towards my character and they're not meaning to be mean, but it was in the way that it was said.
Right. Yeah,
so
I get that.
It's a tedious thing, but once you get used to having these conversations. They're so normal and they get easier and easier and easier.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? And so I guess it's so, not I guess, it is so important to be very aware of how it comes out.
Yes, thank you for that. I will
Mm-hmm.
watch
You're
that.
welcome. Mm-hmm. Maybe you'll meet someone on a plane, a train, an automobile. You never know, Queen.
Maybe in my COVID mask, because
Love
now we're
is
back to
love.
COVID,
Oh, okay, there we go.
right?
So, oh yeah, I also too, I
Yes.
wanted to ask this one. Where do you lie? Because I can answer mine. When, let's say, if there's the dream girl, the girl of your dreams, and she was an anti-vaxxer, what would happen for you? Is that an open door or a closed door?
Good question. Because I think everybody has the right to choose for their own body.
Mm,
But
I get that, but
it
then
will
this
affect
will
me.
affect you.
It will
Yes.
affect me. Lord.
So
Good
that would be
question.
a closed door.
For you?
For me, because I'll tell you this, I'm immune compromised. On top of that, yes, people get to
Yeah,
choose, but when you're in my life and
right.
you're out there and
True.
you're come in and we're going to be intimate, that affects me right away.
That's true.
And I
It
wanted
does.
to
It's
talk
true.
about this on the last episode, but I think this is really important. Okay, what do you think about having separate rooms with a partner? Because my oldest brother, he has had a separate room with his wife for 23 years, and
Mm-hmm.
they rarely fight in
Mm-hmm.
the sense of they have their own bathroom and their own bedrooms. They meet sometime in each other's rooms
Uh-huh.
and they snuggle and do their stuff, but there is, because his snoring was so bad.
Right.
Right. And so for me, I'm like, I don't want to share my room with a dude. It's so girly and so lovely, and I love all my stuff. And I I think I like that idea because I don't mind sleeping and snuggling. Like I'll go sleep and snuggle
Yeah.
in his bed, but I'm talking about putting his clothes in
Oh
here,
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
all
yeah.
his
That would
stuff
be
in
nice. It'd be
here,
nice to have separate space for like bath and
and
to
nap,
hang and get.
decompress,
Yeah,
phone
absolutely. If
calls.
you have that luxury that you can have two
Yes,
different
of
bedrooms, not
course.
everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in the beginning, I think it's nice to be together, wake up together, and do the whole thing. But I know a
Yeah, I'll
lot
sleep
of
in your
couples.
room and come
Oh,
visit, and then I'll go back to my room.
all right. Or they come to your whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I know a lot of couples who do it very successfully with separate bedrooms, and that's what they do. They cuddle at night, they watch TV,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or they sleep, and then they go to their separate, you know.
Yeah, because I find it when I sleep with other people, it's like I move a lot and then I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm
Yeah,
disturbing them
I need a
and then
big
I
bed.
don't get a good sleep. Yes,
Yeah.
totally. And
Yes.
so I was just curious about that because I think that too is I may introduce that, which an Italian might think I'm off the wall
Mm-hmm.
crazy, which that's
Mm-hmm.
okay. But um I think that yeah, for me, I think that that might work.
Yeah, it could work for
Yeah,
me. I could be open to
yeah.
that. I think that could be nice. Just having a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of your own personal space is nice.
Yeah,
Because
I
we
think
all,
so too.
especially now that after COVID, we do work from home so much too. It's like, you know, you need a little breathing room.
Well, and then I don't have to complain about your mess in the room, right? Because you can just close your door.
Amen.
And then
Because
also in
I
the
am neat.
bathroom.
I am very tidy.
See,
I am
I'm
extremely
tidy.
tidy.
I'm a tidy except for a corner in my bedroom,
Uh-uh.
but also I
Shut your
don't want
damn
anyone
door.
saying anything. Yes, exactly. There we go. And I don't want to be judged,
Exactly.
right? So shut my damn door. Beautiful. I love it. I
I
love it.
love
I
it
love it.
too. I
But
love it.
we'll most likely be intimate in his room so we could leave the mess there and then I could go back to my room.
Oh, yeah, gross. You know he ain't gonna clean it up either. You're gonna be
I
laying in it the
know.
next
That's
night,
why I
girl.
can leave him there.
Straight sex.
So
Ugh.
let me ask you, when you've seen people lose, have you seen friends lose themselves in relationship in the sense is that I have certain friends that once they
Yes.
get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, they're gone and then they return back when the
Yep.
breakup happens.
Yep.
And do you now where you're at in your life, do you feel like you need to say something to that friend or you just let them do them and you just sort of
I don't
wait in
think
the
saying
rafters?
things I've said stuff in the past, and I've also been
Mm-hmm.
that person in the past. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not good either way. It's not good to lose your balance, and it's not good to have a friend that pulls away and feel like you're less important. But I get that, relationships, they need to focus on that. And sometimes they end up having kids and they just disappear into their own lives and their own worlds. But no, it doesn't feel great. But I mean, what do
So
you,
how would you do it differently now? Meaning, so if we're talking about to not lose yourself, the younger you who would disappear when you had boyfriends,
girlfriends?
I mean girlfriends, sorry,
Probably
squeezed
not a
me.
boyfriend.
Right. And
No
but
offense.
what no no but what would you do different now is that would you include your friends and introduce them to the person early on so that all y'all could do stuff together, or would you keep your friendships and keep sometimes them separate? I don't know how you would do that.
Well, I introduced them in the past as well, but it wasn't about wanting to be around the friends or not being around the friends. It was all about the relationship itself not being healthy and us fighting behind the scenes and then feeling like, oh, well, I don't want to carry this out in front of my friends.
uh
Do you know what I mean? It was
uh-huh.
that ridiculous drama that was happening.
Yes. Ridiculous
So,
drama. And I'm sure
yes,
a lot of it could have been through alcohol as well, like when you're out and
absolutely.
the
Good
restaurants. And so,
Lord.
and women can be so dramatic. And then you
Girl, you
get
get
two of
two of
us
them and two
PMSing.
periods. Yes. Fuck. Sorry.
Yes, no, 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 no,
Drama.
no. So
It can be a lot of
it's,
drama, yes.
yeah, it can be a lot because I know that if I would be drinking and I was in my marriage and then he would do something, oh, forget it. Like I would
Well,
take
then
it
there's
to
no
the next
filter.
level.
Then it's just like
Hmm.
whatever you're feeling is coming out.
Hmm.
And then the fights
Yes,
happen, and
totally.
then it's just ridiculous. But yeah,
So do you
I
think it would
think
be cool to have a thing to run down, like to a gauge to sort of look at every once in a while when you're starting to date someone of like, remember, don't lose yourself, don't discard your friends, like just to kind of remind yourself.
sure.
Yeah, I think for
Do
younger
you want to
people
write it for
especially.
me?
Yeah. Well, I'd like
Dear
to write it for
Ashley,
me
here's
is
what I feel you need to watch out for
well,
intuitively.
no, well, no, but my problem would be like I would make them like a dozen cookies one day, muffins the next, brownies the next, and then one day if I just decided I'm tired, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, huh?" And then I get resentful that they said something that I skipped a day when
Mm-hmm,
I'm the
mm-hmm.
one who set up the stuff that way.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And so I also have
I
to remember
see.
to
Yeah.
dial it back a
Yes.
ton.
I gotcha.
And because you get people used to a certain way of who you're representing in the very beginning. Because
Mm-hmm.
I used to be guilty of, I love to clean, I love to do this. No, I don't, but I just did that to get dudes. And then I only ever lived with a man once before my marriage. And that was Malibu Bob. And when after 2 months of living, he goes, "What happened to the girl who liked to clean and cook all the time?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, she's not here anymore."
Yeah. She
Like
didn't never love it.
she
Shit.
didn't need she now she's already in there, and I
Uh-huh.
pulled the Marco and I'm like, now that I'm in
Yeah.
here, get a
No, it's a good
housekeeper.
reminder. And we're heading into the holidays too. And it's like things are only going to get busier and crazier. And you can
Hmm.
absolutely have other people on to talk to you while I'm busy.
Right. I think it's important because I think that we forget, but I've been trying to explain to some of my girlfriends here when they're getting frustrated with their husbands or
Mm-hmm.
partners or whatever, is that listen, this is why we have friendships. This
Yeah.
is why we build tribes, is one person cannot give you everything you are
No.
looking for.
No.
And so if you're looking for a particular kind of emotional support that generally only girls give, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it may be, why are you complaining that your husband, who has never showed you he is capable of that, still cannot give you that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Look for it in your friends. Would we like it in our romantic partner? Absolutely. Would that be ideal? Absolutely. But if you know that they cannot do it,
Mm-hmm.
why do we constantly? Because I was so guilty of trying to get Marco to be everything he wasn't. And then I took it so personal.
Yeah.
And only did I learn that after I was like, oh, wait, you can get all of that from other
Mhm.
relationships,
Mhm.
right? And so I'm
Mhm.
like, this is why we build a tribe. This
Yeah.
is why we connect in ways. This is why it takes a village.
Mhm.
This is why. So when you're down and you're emotional and you want, don't go to the person you know that's not going to be able to give it to you, because that's just going to give you more heartbreak.
Right.
And
And we've
so
learned that
start,
lesson in other ways
right?
too, with our family relationships, with other friendships. I mean, it's no different when you get
Mm-hmm.
into a romantic relationship. But you're right, there is that, like, oh, you think that this
I
person is
want
going to
my
encompass
partner to get
everything. And
it. Yes, and I want my
of course,
partner to
because you
do
feel like
it.
that person is closer to you than anybody in the world. But,
Because you're intimate with that
you're
person and you're
intimate, you're
hoping
sharing so much.
yes,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you're able to show up in ways that they can't. It's not fair because they don't have the same disposition as
Mm-hmm.
you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so
Right.
they may have not had the same trauma or things you've had, so they may never even understand
Mm-hmm.
what it is you go through. You could try and share it with them and they can try as best they can, but I myself have been guilty, and a lot of us are, of like, it's not enough,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
they don't show up enough, and then we hold that against them, and then therefore some people go looking for that specific thing, and
Mm-hmm.
in my mind the grass is never greener, it's just a different shade of green,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's like, find your compromises and find the things you're willing to go, okay, you know what, that's not a big deal to me, but this other thing is.
Mm-hmm.
And then you figure out, like, okay, what am I willing to let go of and not be attached to, and what I'm, the goal in the end is to not really be attached to anything, and that is easier said than done. Maybe if you're Yoda, that will happen, but the fact is that we can always keep trying. But yes, there are parts of us that will always kind of have expectation to
Of
things or
course.
hopes of an
Yeah.
outcome. But I think that we're so hard when we go out there of like, no, 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 nope, doesn't have this, doesn't have that, doesn't have, no, no, no. Instead of going, whoa, wait, how would we feel if someone did that to us?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it never occurs to us because we think we're so cute and adorable that someone's going to be like, no, 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 no. Right. And so for
Yeah.
me, I was much heavier when I used to date. And the comments that I had a man say to me once, um, you're the biggest girl I've ever dated. I mean, you're sexy, but you're big. I mean, you don't even know the things that men have said to me. I've had men buy me for my birthday training sessions, diet books. And so there was a part of me that for a long time I thought when I was thinner, then no one would ever have something to say. Oh no, then it switched from the weight to the clothes or the outfits I was wearing or the way my hair was. Like, it was never enough. And then I just kept trying to please, please, please. And it was just a never ending
Mm-hmm.
sort of cycle of, it always had to do with my aesthetics,
Mm-hmm.
always.
Hmm.
And the fact that I allowed people's comments,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, people aren't just, some men would just come out and say comments, but then I sometimes would always be the first one to bring up my weight so that people knew that I knew I was fat.
Yeah,
Right.
but what the
And
hell? I
so,
mean,
girl, the things, believe me, the
mm-hmm.
things that have been said are horrible and hurtful. Listen, I had this man once, I kid you not, who told me a story. I'm not laughing. I only laugh when I get nervous because it's awful. um, he told me a story that he had thought about life and he was really ready for marriage because he said he had had a rock climbing accident and he was in a coma for 3 months, and now he was out of this coma. And so I was like, oh God, he's really together. We went on a few dates. He got a little sketchy, a little weird. Then I get this email from this random girl, and she goes, I just thought you should know who this person is. She sends me this link. Yet he wasn't in a coma for 3 months. Him and a girl had an argument. They both went out over a balcony, and she was in a coma for 3 months. And
I don't
so,
understand that.
well, meaning he was
What
using
was
this
he?
horrible story. He
Right.
was using this
But
story
what
to
was his point?
literally, his point was to be like, oh, look, I've thought about life and life is
Oh,
so
geez.
different now and I want to be married. And this incredible story that I was literally like going, oh my God, he's so brave. He went through so much. He da 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 da. Because I was what, 30 at the time,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I literally was like automatic, went into take care mode of like, I can help nurse you back to health. I can show you that I'm that
Mm-hmm.
girl.
Mm-hmm.
I can show, when it was
Right.
just like, wait, is your story even true? Like, it
Even
sucks
if
that
it
we have to
was
even think
true,
that.
it's like, why was that yours to take on at 30 years old?
Right. But because I was the people pleaser and
Right.
I was the giver and I
And
was the
clearly,
caretaker.
he was insecure if he had to create something, fabricate a story of that magnitude just to get
Well, and
you to
you,
lure you in, because he obviously knew you were a caretaker and a people pleaser and he was
mhm.
preying on that. That's fucked up.
And well, it's fucked up. And so
Yeah.
when I say I've been through stuff, there's part of me is I'm so grateful I'm not bitter. Like
Mm-hmm.
I am not someone and think you know, I don't carry that bitterness. I know lots of people
Mm-hmm.
who get bitter because people have done so many fucked up things to them.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is that
Right.
that's where you lose yourself too,
You're
is you lose
absolutely
yourself in the
right.
bitterness
That's a
and the
huge point,
anger.
Dina. Yeah,
And
and
that
that's
was
a
not
huge thing
yours
to
to
work
begin with.
on. Yeah, because if you
Mm-hmm.
allow yourself to be affected by what these people have done to you, then they have changed you. They've
Oh,
changed you.
totally. Girl,
They
one
have
time,
changed you.
totally. I went in my computer once and I used to have two computers side by side. And my sister was at my house once and she goes, can I log on? And I had Windows back then. And no one had ever logged in as guest. And she logged
Mm.
in as guest. And all of a sudden, AOL at the time starts popping up and Yahoo Messenger. And she's like, who is I like big butts? And I was like, what? I don't know. This this Venezuelan guy I used to date that would spend the night at my house, I guess was logging in as guest.
Mm-hmm.
And this was his instant
Shut
messenger.
up.
And yes, and all of the messages
Oh my
that he would
God.
be sending women were coming. So I
You
literally
dated a
then went
guy whose
and,
handle was I like big butts and he
well,
could not
not to
lie?
me, not to me. He had a different one. So for 3 days, I didn't leave that computer
Mm-hmm.
and I sat there and I
Oh,
went in on as him
of
because
course you did.
I was so
Yeah.
irate and
So
shocked. And
funny.
I was dating him a year. I was like, wait,
Oh,
he was
wow.
into swinging, he was into all of this stuff. I was
And you
crazed,
had no
like,
idea.
no
Wow.
idea.
Wow.
And then I'm watching, so then as him to like, hey, I just think you should know that this is me and that and then I said something awful that he had. I said he had herpes, but
Mm-hmm.
I said that he had herpes to the people and they're like, wait, what? And then all of a sudden on AOL you could log in and tune, he's like, wait, who is this, what's happening?
Oh,
But I
shit.
didn't log off because I was on
That's
dial-up at the
funny.
time, and if I logged off I didn't know if I could get back on. And so I called in sick from work for 3 days and I just
Shut
kept,
up.
I was
You were
pissed.
on a
And
rampage.
and I can tell you after that, that one, I was reeling with that. I didn't even see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't see it coming from anywhere.
Yeah, that would
And
be.
I was madly obsessed and in love with that
Mm-hmm.
guy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just that took me outside of my character,
Mm-hmm.
sitting
Mm-hmm.
for 3 days like a drug fiend, adrenaline pumped, saying things to people, saying things that he had. That is not who I am. And thankfully, after those 3 days, I decided to never talk to that person again and whatever. And I'm not saying I just got over it right away, but
Mm-hmm.
the fact is that after that, yeah, I didn't trust people for a very long time.
Of course.
And those are the light things that I've been through with these things. And so when we say, did I lose myself? It's not just, oh, did I lose my personality and not take care of myself? No, did I allow someone to infiltrate my character and everything and change who I am
Well, that's a
as
good
a person?
point, like I was saying, to bring up for moving forward, because losing yourself can mean not just while you're in the relationship, it's what you carry forward after the relationship and how it
Yes.
can affect you in the next, right? To your point
Uh-huh.
earlier of like, don't bring all that baggage to the table. It's so hard though when you've been burned like that to not
Mm-hmm.
like, because I mean, and I know friends too who have insisted on like having the password to their boyfriend's phone when they start
Oh
dating
yeah,
or
I don't do
something
that.
because they've been burned like that and they just don't
Yeah.
trust. And I mean, ugh.
I don't want someone going through my phone,
I
but
don't either,
I
but
would
I'm not
like
doing
this.
anything that would be,
Exactly.
you know,
So if someone picked,
suspicious.
like Marco, when we were together, I would always be like, "Can I use your camera?" He would hand me the phone, easy.
Yeah.
Never an issue. I never felt the need to go through his phone, and nor would I.
Was
That's
that
how
a
I would like to
test
feel.
when you asked him if you could
No,
use
no,
his
no, because
camera?
sometimes I wanted his camera. No, no, no.
Let's see if he
No,
lets me.
I
No?
used to go through the phone just to fuck with his friends and like text them like it was him, and then I would delete the
Uh-huh.
text, and then all of a sudden randomly they would be
So
texting
he
and
wouldn't
stuff, and
see
he
it?
would be,
That's
yeah, and
fucking
then they
funny.
would text him back responses. He'd be like, "What is Daniele talking about?" And
Oh,
I'd be like,
God.
"I don't know. Sounds weird
Dena.
to me." Yeah, and then he blocked
All
me out of
y'all
his
who want
phone
to
from
date
that.
Dena, are you listening to this? Are you hearing?
Yes, because it's fun to have fun,
Shit.
But no, no, I'm not a sneaker because I grew up with an
Uh,
Italian father who that was not, no, 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 no. You do
mm-hmm.
not snoop through people's
Mm-mm.
things because,
Mm-mm. You
you
don't,
know,
girl.
no, and I don't like to do that. It gives me
No.
anxiety. So I don't want any part of that. Now,
Yeah.
would I like people to go through my phone? Sure. If you want to bore yourself with doggy
Mm-hmm.
videos and
Yeah.
selfies, knock yourself out.
Right. Right.
But
I
I
feel
would
the
hope
same
I
way. I
would.
don't have anything to hide either, but I also don't want to feel like somebody wants to, because I
To
know
see.
couples that insist on like keeping their phones open for each other, and
Yeah,
I don't
no,
know.
it's not healthy.
It
It's
feels
not
weird to
healthy.
me. It's like you should be able
Yeah,
to have private conversations. It doesn't mean that
yeah.
you're cheating on your spouse, but you might want to talk about some things, with a friend or whatever that, you
Well, and
know?
things can be taken out of context if you're reading
Exactly.
something and you don't know why we're having a specific
Right.
conversation. Like,
Right.
I don't need you taking things out of context and then me being accused of something,
Right.
But also, again, what's good for the goose isn't good for the gander, meaning
Mm-hmm.
do not expect something from someone that you're not willing to do back.
Yep. Yep. I get that.
I know lots of people who want someone to do something and they're like, I'm not doing that because I don't make someone feel that way. Well, no, sorry, it doesn't work that way in
Right.
healthy relationships.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And
Yes.
so I think that these conversations are so important so that people understand that they're not alone and
Mm-hmm.
that there is a reason always behind every action that we do.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense is you can always get to the crux of something if you
Mm-hmm.
look deeper and you say, why do I want to look at people's phones?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because growing up or doing this or blah blah blah. Then you could be like, okay, but that's not this person's problem,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Or in a
so
past
that this is
relationship, this happened, and now I feel I have to,
exactly.
keep an eye out. But listen, if somebody wants to cheat on you, they are going to find a way. You are not
Totally.
going to know. I
Nope.
know that from
And
past experience.
listen, if you cheat on me, I'll tell you this right now. Do not tell me because you're doing that to relieve your guilt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so you're doing that to get the monkey off your back. And now you put that monkey on my back.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to deal with that monkey. You live with that shit by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know about it and you're never going to do it again, I'm not talking about serial cheaters or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I'm talking about a one off, maybe a BJ or something out there, whatever. But I had a guy, a friend of mine. No, but I had a friend of mine 3 years after we broke up. I get it. 3
Lesbian
years after we
present.
broke up, exactly. 3 years after we broke up, he did an amends to me. And he told me in that amends that he had cheated on me. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, dude, I go, who told you to come and tell me this 3 years
Right.
after? He
Right.
goes, my sponsor. And I said, well, maybe your sponsor needs to tell you something different because you are the only man that I ever thought never cheated on me. Now it's three
Oh,
years
fuck.
later, and I have to go back and rethink every situation where you probably cheated with. And I said,
True.
I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, so now
And it's just
three
to
years
make him
later,
feel better because he's going through,
exactly.
yeah.
So for
Or,
me, there are certain things, I'm not saying I turn a blind eye, but if we're not together anymore, or if you don't plan on staying with me, or if whatever, I don't need to know that.
right.
I really don't
It's
need
just
to know that.
hurtful at that point.
It's so hurtful.
Mm-hmm.
And
And it
so
doesn't do anything. Like, what good comes from that? Other than, well, you've
what
made
you were
yourself,
honest and
you're honest, but now you've made somebody feel bad. So how do you feel now?
live with that shit
Yeah.
on your own.
Right.
You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, it, for me, it's so important. Like, even when I left my relationship or whatever, people would ask me questions. The marriage was over before then, so I didn't care enough to know what was happening. Right. So then I thought to myself, right, I was like, okay, I had already lost myself in that marriage. So why am I going to take this narrative of why I'm leaving now and make it mine? It doesn't belong to me. Like, that doesn't matter anymore, because I would have left that marriage even if what happened at the end didn't happen. But the fact is that
Yeah.
it did. So it's not going to change anything for me.
Right.
I get to decide, you know, if I'm going to lose myself again in a separation.
Right.
And I'm not going to lose myself again in a separation, becoming bitter, pissed off at things that I found out. I was already done. I was already out. So save yourself the
Right.
grief.
To me, that is the subtle change, profound impact of this talk. Is because I think we all know the ways now that we can lose ourselves in relationships, in the relationship, but the talk about walking away and then not letting it affect you, that's huge for me. As I enter the next relationship, I want my subtle change, profound impact to be that I am aware of how past relationships have formed triggers, and I want to recognize that.
And I love that. And my subtle change, profound impact would be, let that shit go. The small shit, the little shit, the don't hold on and nitpick. And because I used to nitpick in my memory, and so I could then I could detail every time I came back at him, well, you didn't do this then, and you didn't do that then, and you did. I do not want to be that person anymore.
Scorekeeper.
And that is not, yes, there you go. And so because it was hurtful and I needed him to hear it, but it didn't matter what he heard, because he didn't care if I was hurt.
Right.
And listen, the thing I can say about that marriage and about him, he is a great human being for somebody else. He was unable to love me the way I needed him to. I just was not willing to see that. I was so invested with the potential that I could change that I just didn't see it.
Right. That's the other thing, is like, we can't fall in love with someone's potential, and that is so hard when you see it right there, you know?
Totally. Yes, and these conversations, aren't they healthy to have? And they feel so good.
Thanks
because
you get
you're welcome, but you get a better understanding of yourself.
Yeah.
And what it is you do want. So like today, my picture is even more clear of what I know, what I do want. Oh, and the number one thing, someone, whoever comes into my life, needs to love children and needs to love dogs. And I don't even have children, but children will always be around me. Other people's children will always be around me. And I think it is, and humor, but I think it is so important that sometimes we get with these people and then they could be super grumpy, and then we'll be like, oh, that's just them. No. You watch that, because if this is a big part of your life, what's going to happen is eventually you're going to do what that person wants.
Yep.
So I also think that is incredible. But thank you for having these conversations.
Thank you too. Yeah, I appreciate it. And I look forward to the next one.
Well, frying pan, baby, get ready. But I look forward to hearing people talk about how they left themselves and lost themselves in a relationship, and then how after they found themselves.
You people, let us know. Comment.
Yes.
How are you going to do it differently? How have you lost yourself in your relationships? I mean, don't leave me hanging out here by myself in this frying pan.
Well, maybe we'll make it a walk and some other people can join.
Stir that shit up.
All
right. Well, I love you. I will see you next time. Okay.
Okay. Ciao for now.